Hello, everyone. Welcome to our panel on game dev disasters. I'm excited to introduce this panel to everybody. My name is Joe Mirabello. I am the CEO and founder and creative director at Terrible Posture Games. We made Tower of Guns, Mother Gunship, and we just released a game called 3 out of 10, which is released episodically on the Epic Games Store. And next up is Victoria.
Hello, I'm the communications director at Kitfox Games. We're a little indie studio up in Canada, making a game called Boyfriend Dungeon, and also publishing games like Mondo Museum and Dwarf Fortress.
And next up is Rami.
I'm Rami. I'm one half of Dutch independent studio Vlambeer. I do a lot of stuff related to travel and independent game development around the world.
And Jacob.
Hi, my name is Jacob Burgess. I am the Director of Operations for Ysbryd Games, an indie game publisher. We've published games such as Valhalla, the upcoming sequel. We will be publishing the upcoming sequel Nirvana, World of Horror, which is currently in early access, and we recently announced No Place for Bravery as well. I'm also a voice actor and a games writer.
And then Dave.
Hey, I'm Dave Oshry. I run indie studio New Blood, as well as being the studio director at Rocketworks Studio down here in New Zealand. So I run 2 game studios across 2 continents. I don't sleep a lot, and I should post on Twitter most of the time somehow anyway.
That feels very accurate to what I know about you.
Yes.
So this panel can kind of go in a lot of different directions. There's a lot of different facets of game dev that we could tell our own stories from. But the basic idea here is that we're going to share some of what it's like to be a developer and some of the weird antics that we get into. This panel is kind of meant to be a little bit more lighthearted and keep it a little bit more like a bit of levity. So let's try and focus on the sillier things, the stranger things, the wacky things that nobody would actually believe.
Stranger Things, TM.
TM, right? Now,
Play the theme song.
there's a lot of directions we
You
could
don't
go.
have a soundboard going?
I do not. I wish I had.
I got confused that the game.
I'm
is
leaving
after
if we don't have a
stories.
soundboard.
I'm just gonna try for this
I'm
entire
just playing
panel.
Flight Simulator while I'm here. It's fine.
Same.
You and Rami both have been playing. No, it's a.
We should not fly together.
I thought
So-
we were
See the pyramids.
To kind of get us started here, I was thinking that and we can kind of let this kind of go a little freeform based off of how the conversation goes, but we could kind of divide up a couple of the different aspects of game dev, the process of making a game. There's pretty defined segments of like, here's the pitching experience, here's the development side, here's the marketing side, and we all have different stories to pull from different aspects of that. So why don't we just go ahead and start with where a game begins its life with the pitching process. And I think that Jacob, you're probably the best one to start this conversation with because you see tons of pitches. Since you are basically are a publisher, can you tell me a little bit about some of the disaster pitches you've seen?
Yes, and I will try to do this as carefully as possible because I
Right.
try to be as encouraging as I can to folks who come with pitches. But back in the days, in the days of yore, with physical conventions where people could actually come up to the booth, Ysbryd Games usually at PAX. We have a booth at every PAX except for Australia, but sometimes we go to Australia to just kind of go around. And we do encourage people to come up and just be like, hey, if we've got time, let's hear your pitches. And there was I've had a couple of fairly interesting encounters because usually our volunteers and folks that are at the booth are just like, that guy, get that guy. So I've had people walk up to me with no introduction, no hi, my name is Bled, can I have a moment of your time? I've had people walk right up to me and I mean this close and just be like, you're gonna publish my game. About their finger guns came fully loaded with no safety, and just completely trying to kind of bowl you over with charisma. But there's a difference between charisma and smarm, and these folks must have thought I was toast because they were just spreading the smarm on really, really thick. And these are folks that try to pull you away. And I say these are folks because this has happened more than once. And I am certain that other people that have had booths at other panelists here that have had booths at PAX have had similar experiences, unless I'm very special and seem to attract this type of person.
Can you give us an example of when a Oh, sorry, you cut out.
Oh, I did? Am I
Sorry.
here?
No, go ahead. Can you say that again?
Oh,
Sorry, you
no,
cut out for a moment.
I was trying to elicit confirmation from the other panelists and then got dead silence. So this is going well for
Oh
me.
no, I get.
Oh, yeah,
Man, I've gotten. I they don't just they don't even think about the other games that you publish. They just
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're a publisher. You want to publish my game? I'm like, not really.
You're going to give me $1 million. I certainly am not.
Yeah, I don't have $1 million.
Yes.
Don't
Yep.
have $1 million? Oh gosh.
Let's actually. This is something I want to pry in then into a little bit here, Dave. You guys are almost exclusively. In fact, I think you are exclusively action FPS. Have you ever been pitched? Is that true? Is there anything I'm missing there?
Well, Faith is a horror thing, and
Oh, that's one of the newer
but
ones, right? That's like the next
yeah, Super
new
Galaxy
gen.
Squadrons is a shmup, but mostly first-person shooters. Yeah.
Have you ever been pitched a visual novel or a RPG or something like completely
Yes.
wildly out of your scope or out of your realm?
And now we're actually working on 2 visual novels.
Awesome. So sometimes it works.
Based on our existing IP. Yeah, but like I've been pitched all kinds of stuff. I've been pitched stuff that's just wildly out of our scope. Our games are really violent and bloody and stupid and have loud music. And I've been pitched like the most peaceful, like 2D-er, like walking in the forest type of game. And I'm like, you want New Blood to publish this?
This.
Sure. It's like, no, I'm going to suggest you to somebody else who might be more interested in your game. But yeah, I mean, so a lot of people just don't do their research and just want, like, publisher, you give money, me make game.
Yay.
Do
Yep.
any of you know whether there's some sort of secret publisher's book that I'm in? Because I'm not even a publisher, and I get these all the time.
Yeah.
People are like, yo, do you want to publish our game? I'm like, we don't. We're a studio. We're a
We don't
development
do
studio.
that, yeah.
We make stuff.
Dave, you ever get a pitch deck with somebody else's company or name in the pitch deck?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like Dear Raw Fury, and I'm like, all right, well we're already like in a step in the wrong direction.
Yeah. It's pitching is like a first date. And I've had a lot of bad first dates.
So I think that's actually a good way to kind of like bookend that topic then and move into the development itself. Let's say a team has gotten the pitching, has successfully pitched, got funding, and then the development itself has started. Now, once upon a time, we were not all remote, and so I'm curious really quickly if you could just do a survey of the room of who actually prior to this was already working remote with a team or was in a studio environment. So, like I myself have been remote for a few years, but was in an office environment before then. So,
Am I the only in-office person?
You have an office?
I like. I'm in the airplane
What's that
99% of the time.
Yeah. I'm just
well, actually,
I have
okay.
a green screen and lie to myself.
I can't just play Flight Simulator and get away with it, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, like last time I was in an office environment for game dev, I think would have been 2012. 2013? No, 2012. Yeah, and it's been at home ever since then. So we should probably start this off with you, then, Victoria. Can you give us some fun stories of the office life of the day-to-day craziness that can happen in game dev? I'm sure that we all can fill in different antics that have happened virtually, but there's always fun stuff that happens in the office itself.
Honestly, it feels like it was years ago. It's only been like 4 months, and I'm like, when was I ever in an office? Was I
2020's been a
ever
hell of
in
a
an
year.
office? Yeah, exactly. And it just feels like a fever dream now that I ever had people to interact with as I was working. I think so much of like office antics though is just like being able to peek over at someone's screen and then like suggesting something like really stupid to go inside of the game. And I can't like recall it right now, so I don't know if anyone wants to fill in while I think about it. But it's definitely just like it's just chaos. It's just
like
chaos.
best Easter eggs, you mean? Like
Yes, like of Easter eggs, but also like maybe it's just me actually. Of like I just think of really dumb suggestions that I want in the game, and I keep pitching it to them until someone agrees to it. So
I have certainly gotten in trouble like for that. My very first gig in the industry was working on Titan Quest, making a bunch of like it was a Diablo clone back in like the mid 2000s, and I made almost all the weapons, and I made one with the Thundercat logo on the sword hilt, and I got pulled into a director's office for that one. because I didn't understand that you couldn't do Easter eggs like that because you would get in trouble. So it was the kind of thing that stuck with me ever since then. Like, don't put corporate branding.
So it was a real sort of No Man's.
Yeah, it was a bronze level. I don't remember how the weapon tiers worked in that game. It's been so long, but yeah, I was really excited about it too. It looked pretty cool, and they were just like, Joe, don't do this.
I can kind of combine these last two topics. We were trying. So Vlambeer in 2011 or 12, we had an office, a tiny one, and we decided to try to pitch to Nintendo to be allowed to make games for the Wii or Wii U. I don't remember which one it was. And back then, Nintendo was very controlling and very secretive about their dev kits, to the point of the stories being that these devices would get like drilled to the ground or like delivered with like suitcases. Like,
Whoa.
I don't know if these are true because we never got it.
Similar things.
The reason we never got this dev kit is because during the early conversations, they asked us how secure our offices were, and we sent them a photo of a golf club saying that if somebody broke in, we would handle it. And that was the end of our conversation with Nintendo. We had no idea what we were doing.
I actually heard that you needed to, back then you had to have a safe in an office, and it had to be like drilled into the floor like a gun rack safe thing that we have in America. That's a thing. And that's it. Or they wouldn't send you dev kits. Yeah, but I mean, golf club works just as good.
Let me see if I can find the golf club. I still have it, I think.
You still have the golf? You still?
Oh, this panel has props. Awesome. Yeah, I like.
And Rami's gone.
Like, I don't.
And
I mean,
Rami
I was.
never came back.
And that was the end.
Was Rami ever here?
The real Rami was the Rami inside of us all along.
He's the Rami as we met along the way in Destiny.
Yeah. Destiny. Yeah, like I don't know too much about Nintendo's process. I've never made a game for a Nintendo system, but I did hear that they used to actually like Google satellite view you and be like, "Is that a home or is that an office?" And they would.
Yep, I heard similar things from a lot of people. So I think it's 100% true because we've heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah, from spreading rumors now.
That is a fact. That is not fake news. That is real news.
Oh.
Maybe. We are 87% sure.
I feel like you're gonna get like a cease and desist from Nintendo.
I hope not. I'm trying to launch a game in 2.5 months on Switch.
I mean, it's.
I don't know where it is.
Well, I think the panel's over then, Rami. Jesus.
Yeah.
We've already ended this panel twice with the soundboard and now the golf club.
We have no security. We have no soundboard.
Let's take this over to the virtual antics then, since so many of us are working remote these days. What kind of wacky remote stories have you gotten into? And this is actually directed at Dave because your New Blood people are always tossing jokes at each other, and I'm witnessing the silly antics going back and forth. You have to have some weird stories.
The aftermath?
Yeah, I think I'm witnessing some of the aftermath. No,
we're pretty in the internal server. So we just work out of Discord, right? And it's just a bunch of people shit posting, and then sometimes that shit posting. Are we allowed to say shit posting on these panels? I don't know.
I don't know.
Flows. It's like when I do GDQ runs. Am I allowed to say fuck? And then they go, "You're banned." I'm sorry. And sometimes that flows over to Twitter, and people are like, "This just seems like just one like insane family picnic," and I'm like, "That's kind of what New Blood is all the time." Any like wild? So I'll tell you a funny story. So Johnny Szymanski yesterday, the brother of David Szymanski, who's the brother of Evan Szymanski. There's 3 Szymanski brothers that work at New Blood. Got married, got engaged. He got engaged.
Okay, congrats to him.
And he posted it on Twitter. And David comes into Discord and he goes, "What the hell, Johnny? You got engaged? You weren't? I found out on Twitter before me." And he goes, "Mom didn't tell you?" He goes, "No, Mom didn't tell me. Why did I see that you got engaged on Twitter before you? I'm your brother." And then I tweeted, I was like, "Ooh, fight." And then David tweeted that. He was like, "I found out on Twitter my brother got engaged," and I quote retweeted it. And I was like, "They're a very close family." So sometimes, like, stuff happens on social media before it happens in real life, before it happens internally. And we are kind of just like one big dysfunctional family. And that does kind of, flow over into social media. And I think people enjoy that. I hope. I think.
It certainly makes for... I enjoy it. I feel like there's some history there that I think is fun. That even if I don't know what it is, it feels like there's genuine camaraderie going on, which
that's how you know they like each other. Because me and JW, me and my co-founder never interact on Twitter, and that's how we work together.
I read an interview,
like-
Rami, of you and your I guess you would say co-partner, and that you said in the interview at least that you two are at each other's throats most of the time.
Like each other.
How do you
We
make
never
games?
liked each other.
No.
Well, by doing work. Like we just literally like he's in charge of some stuff, I'm in charge of the other stuff. We don't like each other, so we don't give each other easy passes. I respect his work. He's a great designer. But yeah, throughout the entire history of Vlambeer, we never enjoyed each other's company. We like working together, but I'm not going to invite him to my birthday party, and he never invited me to his.
How did you two meet? If you don't mind me
You
asking.
didn't come to my inauguration.
The only thing we hated more than each other was the school we were at, so we dropped out together.
Oh, that's a good way to start a relationship.
That's literally what started. We're going to make one game.
And that was
We're gonna make one game.
Kitfox.
This is the final game. We were like two cops about to go into retirement. Where like in the American action movie genre, like that. That was us.
We're
We were like,
too
we're
old
gonna
for
do
this
one
shit.
game. We're gonna do one game, and then we're done. We're never
One
talking
last
again.
ride.
And now we're like, it was 10-year run. It's ridiculous.
10. Wasn't that like 15 years ago that Kitfox came out?
No, that's 10 years. It's also terrifying. Like, you want to know something that's terrifying about game development is when like an 11-year-old kid comes up to you and says, "Oh, I used to play Super Kitfox when I was small, when I was a kid," and I'm like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah, make me feel old, baby. Bring it on. Yeah, give me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I started. My original inspiration for making video games was Super Kitfox. I'm like, "How old are you?" Like 18. I'm like,
Oh no.
"What? No."
That's it's. Yeah, I think that there was some place because what was it? There was some game I was working on that got bought by who's going around buying all those games now? I guess it's THQ Nordic is going around buying a lot of the old games, and seeing one of the games you worked on being labeled as a classic makes you feel like, oh man, maybe I really am old.
I think anytime anybody comes up to you in the game industry and makes you feel old like that, you should legally be allowed to take a year off their life and add it to your own.
I like that deal.
Great idea. I'm into that.
Yeah.
I'm into that.
Because I mean, it's in reality, like I'm not that old. Am I? No, maybe I am.
I mean, games industry years are fast years, like in terms of age. Like every year is like.
Especially.
Yeah,
Well,
2020. I aged like 27 years this year. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, 2020 has aged just all a lot. I think though that also you come up for air only once every couple of years when you have a project released. You look around, you're like, what's going on? And then you dip back down. You don't. It's very easy to like suddenly realize you've lost a decade because you were working on 2 or 3 projects during that time. Unless you're, Rami working on 300.
I like calling it I used a year, not I lost. I'm just gonna get too.
Where did it go?
But yeah, game development it is weird like that. And it also creates that pressure where you feel like you have to be involved in stuff because otherwise Tran is just gonna move on, right?
Yeah.
So you're just continuously like, oh, gotta make sure that we're still relevant. Gotta make sure that there's content. Gotta make sure that there's games. Gotta make sure that I'm on Twitter. And then people go like, Rami, tweet less, and I'm like, oh fuck, too much. Okay, well, like, and it's just.
Sorry, I feel like this goes like totally both ways of like, because I had only recently joined the industry, I was like, how is everyone so smart? How does everyone know each other already? Like, I need to catch up. Like, I'm so behind on everything. So I think it's definitely like both ways of everyone's like, how are you so good at what you do already?
Yeah. I live for your TikToks.
Absolutely fantastic. But
They are very good. I wish I was hip and young and tuned into what's going on in the world of business.
Look,
I
Dave,
did a TikTok and it brushed by one of your videos, and all I got for the next like week was like, oh my god, he was in your TikTok. I was like, I know. I know he's in my TikTok. He wasn't even you weren't even in it. But anyways.
there's even a weird like catch-up feeling too, because I feel like in one way or the other, like I've been in the industry for a while, but like with my new role at Ysbryd, it's a whole different sort of thing.
I'm just here to figure out how to pronounce Ysbryd. I've been trying. I haven't said anything to you guys for like 10 years.
For years, I thought it was Ysbryd.
I thought
not
it was.
years,
Yeah,
but
I
for
thought it
months.
was Ysbryd or Ysbryd.
We have a Ysbryd emote on our Discord.
Ysbryd.
Yeah, no, it's called. So if you want to
Well, I
pronounce,
got what I
native
came for.
Welsh,
Seeing it.
If you want to pronounce it in native Welsh, it's Ysbryd. It means spirit because our games have soul.
Oh, I
Huh.
like that.
That
It's
wasn't
called
the original
Flame
idea.
Bear.
That was the idea I came up with to make it work. Yeah. So that's what it means. It's because we're a micro publisher too, so that what that means is we only we hyper focus on 2 or 3 max developers a year, because quite frankly, that's all we have the bandwidth for. We are a small company.
Do you mind me asking how big you are?
What's that?
Do you mind me
I'm
asking
about
how big?
5'7", but thank you for asking. I'm sorry, the company. I know. The 3, 2.5 really. Our social media coordinator Meredith Gerber is part-time. Brian is mostly in an advisory capacity. I am the director of operations, so we'll generously say 3.
That works. Yeah, I mean, I can see how very quickly you'd be overwhelmed by any more than just one game, really.
Yeah, and it fits in with our kind of how we do things, and we want to make sure that we can give as much attention and support to our developers as possible. Yeah,
that makes sense.
I'm sorry, Rami, did you say something?
Aren't we all isn't every one of us over do people overestimate how big and influential and money? Because people are like, Rami, can you just do this? And I'm like, we are a 2-person. I am 1 human.
Yeah, we get job applications every day, so we don't even have a job application. We have a thing. It's hidden on our website, for careers, and we have not ever put a call out. We've never been hiring ever for anything. It's just there to have it. And I get job applications every day. I've got applications from people that worked on Rockstar Games and Sony. They're like, I love your games. I'd love to come work from you. Where's your office? And I'm like, you're looking at it, buddy. There's how big do you think we are? Which I always take as a compliment for people who think we're bigger than we are. It's definitely a compliment. But no, it's me in my bathrobe playing Flight Simulator
at 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m.
I do love being called a PR department. I'm like,
yeah,
an entire department. Thank you.
Department?
Actually, how big is Kitfox?
Kitfox is 9, and 2 of them are part-time.
Cool. Terrible Posture actually has grown up a little bit. We're now at 14, and then part-time people as well. But it's cool. It's been very fast. We're how do we juggle people now? Because a year ago we were at 5, and
that's really tough to do. People are really floppy. So.
Well, more so just knowing how to grow, and also making sure that you grow responsibly is a challenge that I'm learning. Coming from more so on the development side, figuring out how to handle operations correctly, how to even do little things that seem like they'd be simple, but okay, how are the taxes being allotted for payroll is kind of a nuisance, but is something to be figured out.
Taxes.
Yeah. Taxes. Exciting. Welcome to our panel about the exciting topics of...
Game development, please. Let's switch back to Shutting on Fire.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so actually let's talk about the most fiery of segments of a project's life, and that's usually the release. Everyone's probably got some terrible release stories. And
I thought you were going to say source management.
Version control.
Okay, we can segue into version control, sure.
No.
Okay.
I have one though. I do want to tell this story. I was working on Nuclear Throne, which was our most recent major game release, and one of the things that was a problem with that was that I was continuously traveling. Oh,
did we lose Victoria?
This story is so bad that Victoria just straight up left.
Just
and Dave just froze. Dave's no longer here either.
Oh no. No,
okay.
We'll give let's give Victoria a moment to come back.
Go
on. Hopefully she does. There.
Well,
on the other side of Dave.
Yeah, she's over here now.
No. Hey.
All right. So we will.
Nothing happened. Everything is fine. What?
No, you've been here the whole time. We were actually just talking about your plushies in the background.
So we were working on Nuclear Throne, and one of the problems with Nuclear Throne is that I was continuously traveling all around the world. So very often we were doing this early access program where we were updating the game once a week, and then doing posts and live streams in between. It was a lot to take in, but very frequently I would actually have to update the build while I was boarding a flight, and that gets a little stressful every now and then. So I would cut corners and be a little faster. And one time I managed to upload our entire source, like just the entire source by accident to our OS X build. And
Oh,
to this day, I'm still thankful that nobody was playing on Mac because
Well,
nobody noticed. So nobody noticed, and when the flight landed 4.5 hours later, I managed to like kill it and like get in contact and make sure that it was wiped and erased and forever gone. But
I'm sorry. Go ahead. But I have a question.
okay, good question, because yeah,
Were you in the air the entire time, having realized that happened?
yes,
Holy!
yeah, it was a good flight.
cow.
I almost pulled the Arab card and just started talking in Arabic because that lands flight
No.
pretty fast sometimes. But
They,
no,
they turned that plane right around.
yeah, Assalamu alaikum. We will land soon. But no, it wasn't. It just, I was terrified. They land and nothing happened. It's like nobody plays on Mac. We're like, oh, whew.
That's true.
It must have felt like your soul took a dump when you realized that it was.
Yes. It was great. I looked at the build script. I'm like, that's the wrong directory.
Mine. Oh my god.
All right, so then now that we're talking about releases, then anyone else got some fun disaster stories about releases?
Is that a poop joke?
Was that a fun? It is now.
It wasn't, but I guess.
Yes, it is. Just take it.
Disaster stories.
I also have one there.
About
There is a really large. So Steam has this weird thing where I don't know
Where
if
they
it's
don't
still
email
okay.
you back when they're releasing your game.
Well, they had this system where you would submit your game, and then there's a big button at the top that says launch game, and then when you click it, it goes into the review queue.
Yeah.
So hitting the giant green launch game button used
Does
to
not
not
actually-
launch your game.
Yeah.
It puts it in a queue that might take 3 to 5 days to process your game.
You used to have to
Now-
like type a button. You had to like type like yes, I want to
Right.
launch this
You
or
have to type,
something.
release my game, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that does it didn't release your game. So a lot of indies were not aware of that, waited until the launch moment, and then clicked the green button, and then got a thank you for submitting the game to the review queue. We will launch your game in 3 to 5 days. And it's like, well, excuse me. Back in those days, I was a pretty visible independent developer. So 90% of those indies emailed me.
Yeah.
And one of the cases that I will never forget was it was Hotline Miami.
Really?
And yeah, this story, and I'm sure this story has been told online. That's why I can use this story. But the Hotline Miami developers, they had messed up some stuff. They were pretty late with things, and then the build they had submitted was actually broken. And they had sent me a build a few days earlier that was less broken. So the build that launched of Hotline Miami was actually a preview build that I had gotten 3 days earlier that I uploaded to Steam and then launched the game.
So in a way, you launched Hotline Miami.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of my favorite releases. It was a very good game release. I got $0, but I mean the game is phenomenal, and it's fun to have a little part in a story like that. But
Yeah.
getting a shot like, Rami, do you still have that build we send you? And I'm like, why? They're like, can you launch it? I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah, like
The rest is history.
yeah, that's how you like start the sitcom episode, and then the narrator cuts in and like, let me back up 2 hours. You know?
You might wonder how I got in this situation.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think people think. So here's the thing: people think that either they think that we're geniuses or they think that we're idiots, right? Like, there's nobody on Twitter that is like, we are experienced at nonsense. That's our job description. We've just been through so much nonsense and ridiculous processes and development problems that we've gotten pretty good at being like, that might be a problem. Can we not do the code that way, right? But we're not geniuses. Like, most of the stuff that you play is literally duct tape.
Yeah.
Like,
That's certainly how Tower of Guns was back when I made that. I mean, that was.
I've never heard a story of indie game development or publishing that was like everything went smoothly and we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. That doesn't happen. I mean, it looks that way generally to the public because there's a whole bunch of people in the background going like, just give me the fucking staple gun. Kick it out the door. put a shirt on it so nobody notices the stitches. Shamble away. Like, that's almost every release.
Frankenstein's game monster.
Yes.
You know, I will say that's one thing that early access has kind of helped with, though, because it's like there's almost a little bit more forgiveness built into it, and it runs contrary to something like consoles where they have a lot more certification process for each and every upload. But
certification is ridiculous.
But for PC though, it actually works pretty well. Where it's like, okay, we launched an update.
It's
Okay, we launched the fix to the update. Okay, we launched the second fix to the update, and it seems like there's a tolerance among game players as long as your build isn't 90 gigs for that kind of real quick fix.
Yeah. It makes you appreciate cert a little. I remember we once had a game build rejected because if you unplugged and replugged the controller, the game would crash. And I could just not reproduce that bug. Like, I sat behind my computer for days trying to reproduce that bug until I emailed them and I'm like, can you send me a video of this happening, or like a photo, or like anything, a screenshot, like anything more? And I got this video back of this guy sitting with a dev kit just going like, just unplugging and replugging the controller like 35 times in a minute. And I'm like, who the fuck does that? Like, why are we testing for somebody sitting behind a PlayStation going like...
I heard a story once of, I forget who it was, and I shouldn't say who it was anyway, even if I knew, but a game that failed cert because they realized if you plugged a Guitar Hero controller in while they were playing this game, which was totally unrelated to Guitar Hero, it would crash the game. Who would do that?
I want to know what's going on with that. Like how did you get that tangle?
Who decides? Who puts that in their process? Like, hey, don't forget, plug in the Rock Band stuff.
I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start doing that to all the games.
Selling good peripherals. It's only game developers are buying them now because we have to.
Yeah. So definitely get a DVR pad, get the Guitar Hero thing. Go and spend $200 on that big Mech controller.
Power glove. Don't forget the power glove.
Yeah, get the power glove. Definitely get the adapter. Yep, totally. Yep.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think that for me, the thing that keeps catching me, and it's happened with multiple games now, is, and cert doesn't always check for this, is when the OS itself is in a different language, but the game isn't localized. A lot of engines will try and intercept and just be like, oh, we know you want to be in this language, so we're going to automatically switch a state. And that's caught me a few times now where people will launch it up and will be like, why is all the text broken? And it's like, unless you happen to have like the German version of Windows, you would have never known. And even, the people who I know in Germany are using the US version of Windows, so they never caught it either. Not all of them, but like it's a pretty common thing. So it's very a US-centric thing that always something I forget to check for.
Middleware is a miracle. Like, when you think about it, that it works is a miracle. When it doesn't work, is also a miracle. I was doing iOS development and we got a bug.
To hear that.
Yeah, me too. We're doing iOS development and we ran into an error when I was trying to build. I got an error that said error 0 success. That was it. There was nothing else. It turned out that on the Lightning adapter, like the little plug, the rightmost pin actually sends back the error number. That pin was blocked. So it couldn't send back an error message. It could only send back that there was an error state, but it sent back a 0 over that pin, and that's the success state. So it gave an error 0 success. It took us 3 days working with Apple to figure that one out, and it was solved by clearing it, like basically using the iPad as a... until that pin was clear. That was apparently it.
Well,
not something I expected.
Yeah,
game development.
Yeah, I mean that is game development.
Like that sometimes.
There was.
I could not believe you were still doing pin data, where it's like this pin does that. I'm like, this seems like a digital cable to me. What? But yeah, apparently not all of it was digital.
That reminds me of I can't remember when it was, but it was on one of the 38 builds back when I was working on a large MMO. We had a build that was crashing mysteriously out of nowhere. We couldn't figure out why, and we finally tracked it down to one file that had an underscore in the name, and it was just this underscore. And we were like, what? like these kinds of weird scenarios that take you forever to track down. And it was nothing in the file. It was literally just the file name, and it was some reason the underscore was being parsed out and then passed along in the wrong name. I don't remember what was going on, but it's like that kind of like obscure bug kind of situation is pretty common, and it's especially when you're talking about the consoles or something with it being weird hardware peripheral related, like the pin cable doesn't the pin connection on the cable doesn't surprise me, or the Guitar Hero one doesn't surprise me. I'm kind of curious about what was going on with that Guitar Hero Rock Band controller.
The Guitar Hero one doesn't. I like how that doesn't surprise you because it surprised the hell out of me when I heard it.
No, I mean it's like it's funny and it's surprising, but at the same time, I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's just all these different scenarios where you just piece together hardware and software, and you can't test all the permutations, especially as a small team, Yep.
Can I ask one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is like y'all's most awkward introduction in the games industry? Like there must have been like
every single person that's ever come up to me at a booth ever.
Just all of them.
Yo.
Let's.
Sorry,
I want to hear. I want to hear from Victoria.
No, I'm sorry. Just sometimes being a woman in the games industry, so many awkward introductions of like, oh, is your game Boyfriend Dungeon? It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, so like you've worked on this game? I'm like, yes. They're like, so can I date you through this game? I'm like, I want to die. It's like, no.
Well, that's got to be like extra rough too, because you're like in this position where that's your job to be in front of this person. So
I know the problem is it's like also like because you're in a booth and because my job is like communication. It's like it's my job to smile at you. It's my job to laugh.
That's
Yeah,
really
and awkward nerds are like, is this a relationship?
Little butterfly. Yeah.
It's
No,
disgusting.
like let's keep it in the industry and not awkward as in painful awkward. More like I was the awkward one.
Like, you were the awkward one?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, something where you introduce yourself to somebody and you're like, oh, I fucked that up.
Oh, I've got
yeah,
a.
so
I'm so bad.
Oh,
the first
yeah.
time I negged Phil Spencer the first time I met him. I was at Dice and I was hanging out with Andrea Renee. You guys know all Andrea, and she was like, "Hey, this is Phil," and I was like, "Yeah. Hey, bartender, can I get another one?" She's like, "I just introduced you to Phil Spencer, and like you totally negged him." I'm like, "Who the fuck is Phil Spencer?" This was a long time ago, before he was the head of Xbox Games, and like I was like, "Oh," I went back and I was like, "Hey," and he was like, and our games still aren't on Xbox.
Who's Andrea? I'm sorry.
What was that?
Andrea Renee.
Andrea Renee.
Yes. Host of many things. What's Good Games? Game Awards, millions of things. If you saw her, you'd recognize her face.
Okay.
Yeah, but she introduced me to Phil Spencer once at Dice, and I completely was just I couldn't care less.
My introduction to Phil Spencer was also really painful and also at Dice. Is that a thing?
Maybe that's a thing. Last time I saw Phil was at what was the last time we had events? Was the Game Awards last December or whatever it was. And I walked up to, he was standing in a group of people and they had just done the big reveal for the Series X. I just walked up to him and I went, sex box, because everyone was calling it the sex box. And he just looked at me and was just like, I don't think I've ever.
I think that's like Article 2 of why your games aren't on Xbox, maybe.
I don't think I've ever had a normal interaction with Phil Spencer. That's it. It's just me. It's just we can just tell Phil Spencer stories now.
So I've got a good story about awkward meetings of people. So when no, not Phil Spencer. I don't think I've ever met Phil Spencer. But
He's a nice guy. Just want to put that out there. He's a really
the loveliest.
There's an artist that I was a huge fan of throughout college and the beginning years of when I was working in industry. And I came from the art side. I was trained as an artist and kind of went up into tech art. This guy was Marko Dvoržnik. I can't even pronounce his last name. It's pretty hard to pronounce for me. But he's fantastic. He was an amazing artist. And I went to a workshop and I actually could get a chance to meet him. So I was really nervous. I was like this 21-year-old kid with my portfolio. And I went up to him and he was drawing at the easel. And I was like, "Hi, Marko. I'm a big fan. My name's Joe. I just want to tell you I love your work." But I kind of muttered it. I was kind of like, "Hi, Marko. I'm a big fan. I love your work here." I had my portfolio in my hands and I was like hoping maybe you could give me some pointers. And he turned and he looked at me. He's a tall guy, giant guy. He must be like 9 feet tall. No, he's like 6.5. But anyway, he looked down at me, and he's just like, "What the fuck did you just say to me?" And I was like, "What? What did I say?" I just kind of like backed away, and I was like, "What did I say?" I just kind of like backed away and went out of the room, and it's like never got my review. And he had literally, I had a friend of mine who became friends with him later, and that friend relayed to me. He was like, "No, he just didn't hear you. You were talking, you were muttering." He was like, he was like, "Why did that guy just walk away?" And he was like, he literally didn't hear me, and I just interpreted it as this
hyper-aggressive,
scary German guy telling me,
what the fuck did you just say to me, you little bitch? I'll have you know I've topped my class in the Navy SEALs, and I have over 300 confirmed kills.
No, like, I mean, that this dude is seriously like the Navy SEAL of artists. This guy is phenomenal, and he still is. But yeah, it's I did end up getting that critique, and he tore my work apart, which was fine, which is good. But it was a few days later when I worked up the courage to kind of approach him again. But yeah, that's probably one of the worst ways that you could meet someone that you're a fan of, is to kind of have them essentially scare you into not talking to people you admire for a couple years.
Yeah. So Victoria, how'd you hoop it?
I'm like, is it bad that I'm still so embarrassed by my own like awkward introduction stories? I'm like, I don't want to say.
That's fine. Shall I do one?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we've got Phil Spencer. I met a few years ago when I was not really known in the industry. I started by just sneaking into most stuff. Right, that was like my way of getting into things, was just I just snuck in. And at some point that escalated to me just always trying to sneak backstage at pressers or into pressers if I could. And part of it is just exercise, like see if I can bluff my way into things. And part of it is just otherwise I wouldn't have the seat and not see the show. So I snuck into the Gamescom presser that Sony had, and I was in this giant open room, and they were rehearsing, and there was stuff on the stage, and it was like 10, 15 minutes before. And there's basically two options if you have a giant room like that. Either you sit alone, and then if somebody asks you if you're supposed to be there, you're in trouble because you won't know what to answer. Or you sit next to somebody, and you just kind of convince them that you're supposed to be there. So I picked that second one, and I sat down next to this Japanese guy. And we had a little chat, and he seemed like a very nice.
His name was Hideo Kojima.
Seemed like a very nice guy. So we had a good chat, and he asked what I did, and I said independent developer, and he said, "Oh, are you in the show?" I'm like, "Well, kinda." And we went through that entire conversation. And then the room fills up, right? And the lights go dark, and we're just still sitting there, still chatting, very nice. And then these two giant guys carry a chair onto the stage. And the voiceover goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Shuei Yoshida," whatever his role was at the time, and the guy next to me stands up and walks onto the stage, sits down in the chair, is Shuei Yoshida, demos the next edition UI for the new upcoming PlayStation, comes back down, sits back down, and says, "Was that good?" I'm like, "Very good. Yes, that was great." And he's like, "What was your name again?" I'm like, "Rami." He's like, "Okay." And it was just so clear that he had immediately figured out I was not supposed to be there. But I think during the chat he realized that I was just an independent developer, just being there. So he just let it be.
Well, that's very cool of him actually to like let that go. If you had caught onto it.
She was amazing.
He's a very nice man.
So my story is one of the I've done the same thing. It's like, you sneak into things, or else sometimes you just don't have a seat at the table. But I also did a lot of early on in my career. I did a lot of volunteering. So I was a volunteer at GDC for 5 years in the conference associate program. And early on, and they don't do this so much anymore at GDC, is one of the things is like check to make sure that you have a badge. That other people have a badge, and if they don't have a badge or have the wrong badge, you go and get security. So I noticed, I was like, I know who that person, and I will not say who this person is, but I was like, I know that person. That's not the right badge. Huh. And then, like an idiot, I went and got security. And
No.
oh, it was the dumbest thing in the world, because I I was overtired. I was hopped up on caffeine. I was dumb and young, and I was like, I'm doing my job. Time to go and do that. And it was the stupidest paladin move I could have made in that moment.
Yeah.
It is something that I am friends with this person now, and have in fact had a working relationship at one point. But boy, did I fuck that.
I'm sure Megan Scavio forgave you.
Shut up, Rami. No,
so I had a similar story I could tell about John Romero and how I almost met him. I was late to a meeting. Almost.
Almost.
No. Well, I was late to a meeting. We have to kind of wrap this up, but I was...
Did he make you his B word?
No. I won at a little GDC setup of Doom against like 16 other people, and they were like, hey,
I remember
awesome.
that setup.
Yeah,
John
it was awesome.
John was playing everybody in Doom. Yeah.
He only played the winner, and I won, and I was going to go against him and play against
You
him,
won the win.
but I had to go. I had like a meeting with a lawyer, and so I was like, I have to leave. Bye. And they're like, don't you want to go play against John? And I was like, what? And he was like right over there sitting, and he was just like, and I was like, I literally am like a minute away from this meeting, and like a fool, I could have gotten to meet him and got a signature. For those who don't know, John Romero was one of the greatest level designers, made a lot of levels in Doom. It was a missed opportunity because
You should have pushed the meeting with the lawyer to play Doom against John Romero. What
The lawyer
I
charged
should've.
by the hour. It's fine. Let them.
Yeah.
It wasn't my lawyer; it was somebody else's lawyer.
John Romero also charges by the hour to make you his bitch.
How did this go from saying B word?
Censored yourself the first
Yeah.
time.
And you had said the word earlier in the thing anyway.
It was a
Ed
callback.
Burley.
It was a callback to a joke from last week that only people who watched my GDQ run are going to get.
For those who don't know, he was also referencing a very old marketing campaign.
Wow, okay.
This is
I mean,
full of
we're-
inside jokes.
This is great because it also just revealed that none of us watched you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm friends. You are.
So
This is the first time we met, man.
Really? I've been at your booth a bunch.
Did you
guys
walk up? Did you
Your
walk
guys'
up and
booth
go?
is-
You're publishing my game.
You know
Yeah.
what?
Your guys' booth is always next to our booth at PAX. The Ysbryd booth is always next to the New Blood booth.
Well, congratulations for being.
So on that note, we are coming up on our time here. So we should really quickly just go through everybody, give us all a chance to kind of say again what we're working on currently and where people can follow you if they want to follow you on Twitter. So I can go ahead and start us. I'm Joe Mirabello, again, founder and creative director at Terrible Posture Games. We're working on a game called 3 out of 10 right now. You can follow me at Blank Slate Joe on Twitter or at Terrible Posture. And that's me.
I'm Victoria Tran. I'm the communications director at Kitfox Games. You can find me on Twitter at @thevtran or Kitfox Games at Kitfox Games.
It was Rami Ismail. You can find me on Twitter, THA_Rami.
My name is Jacob Burgess. You can find me on the Ysbryd Discord, which is discord.gg/YsbryDgames. That's how you spell it. Or on Twitter at JacobBurgessVO or at Ysbryd Games.
I'm Dave Oshry. You can find me on Twitter at Dave Oshry. I run New Blood. You can find us at New Blood, discord.gg/newblood. Find out our games are all about at wehate.money. Buy our merch at waste.money. You can check out Dusk at notfortnite.com. devilmayquake.com for Ultra Kill. That's all the shilling I'm going to do. I could go on forever. But yeah, Ultra Kill, I think it's out by the time this panel's out. Ultra Kill will be out, so go buy it if you're watching it. Actually, it's an industry panel. People don't buy games. We just ask our friends for our games for free.
PAX people buy games.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much to all of you. I really appreciate you all taking the time. And thank you, everybody, for watching the panel.
All right. Thanks a lot.